estate. And I want all of you to take this one thing away. When we think about investing in real estate, it's not just, oh, let me go buy a house, let me do this, let me do that. It is really about changing the trajectory of your life. That's what real estate investing can do. You can go and flip and fix one property and make your entire salary for the year. So this is about changing the actual trajectory of your life, okay? So let's get started. I'm gonna show you guys, I'm gonna do a quick little tour of a property that I'm in the process right now, fixing and flipping. Let me see how to change the camera. Okay, all right, here we go. So here we go. So here's my house. It's that's the dumpster I got out. I got some guys here today. They're out here doing the yard to get the house nice and pretty. So some workers right over here doing it. You know, see my business owners right there. That's business owners right there. All right, so let's go inside. This property is, it was a 4-bedroom and 2-bath property. And as you can see, this right here is the family room area. What I've done right here is I changed this bonus room into a master bedroom with an ensuite. That's gonna be the closet area with a sitting space, like a workstation area. I'm doing a nice, huge master bathroom right in this area with a beautiful barn door, full shower. I think I'm gonna do black on black on black because that's kind of like my new thing. with the properties. So this is going to be brand new kitchen, building it out, putting new patio door out there. This huge space is the dining room area, living room, doing some recessed lighting. This had you see this big hole in the wall? That was a huge closet monstrosity when you walked in the property. So I had that removed. So as we go through here, and the contractors are working, fabulous contractors, 4 bedrooms over here, just doing some new lighting, new flooring. Over here is the bathroom, completely gutted it out. It's gonna have beautiful tub, double vanity in that bathroom. Let's keep it moving down here. So Lisa, like, that's how my house looks when I subtracted everything. And then here, this is another master bedroom ensuite, and this one is going to have a shower stall, single vanity. But this right here, this walkthrough is just really like, guys, this is how it looks. Like it's a lot. It is a lot happening, and as you can see, it's equipment and everything just all over. But you know, this is like that organized chaos, organized chaos of stuff. But let me switch it back over. Let me switch. Did it switch? Did I hit the wrong button? Okay, let me switch. Okay, I'm gonna switch it. I think so. Okay, perfect. So I wanted to just do that tour just to really show you all, like, this is the real deal. This is the real situation. And, you know, I'm also in the, I too, and I'm an investor, and I'm trying to change the trajectory of my life through investing in real estate, and so can you. So with that being said, I am super excited to introduce Talisa Flats. Talisa is one of our original class graduates from the REIS cohort number 1 last year. And she actually took all of the tools and tricks that she learned from the prior session, and she began investing in real estate. So welcome to Lisa. We are super excited to have you here. Maybe if you can just help, you know, from just a little introduction perspective, talk to us a little bit about who you are and what got you investing in real estate.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Vonetta, and thank you guys for having me on this morning. My name is Talisa Flats. I am, you know, definitely passionate about real estate investing. You know, my mother owned land, so that's how I always had this interest for real estate. And we would always go over the appreciation and what she's doing down there. And it just seemed like something I always wanted to get into, especially for retirement purposes, right? I come from a generation, by the time I got to my employers, the pensions had stopped, right? That was something and I'm like, damn, I missed it by a year. So with that being said, you know, I just wanted to figure out ways to start setting up for retirement. And because I'm looking at it, listen, if I create a portfolio, by the time I'm, in the next 20, 30 years, I can sell one or two to have, that cash and income relatively available. So I work in human resources and healthcare. So I actually started my real estate investment journey on the side. Definitely doing it on the weekends and after work and, driving back and forth to the property. So that's where I'm at right now. My first process has been the buy and hold, right? I decided to purchase a multifamily in Jersey. I went down the 203K route with
Oh,
a
wait a
yeah,
minute, hold
yeah.
on.
Oh, okay.
This great question. Hold on, please
Too
hold,
much, too
please
much.
hold. Let me just interject really quick. One of the things you just mentioned, you spoke about was the fact that that you thought about this from an investment perspective and retirement perspective. So, that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to teach people to build that legacy wealth, through the investing in the real estate. And Talisa, you're a prime example of what we're doing. Like you just literally said, your pension was gone. You wouldn't have had that retirement funds, and you're building a portfolio so that you can have those retirement funds. So people, as you think about that and you're looking to, begin your strategy, Talisa's strategy began alone because she recognized the fact that she needed to have this legacy wealth. She needed to have that money in that back pocket, and it wasn't going to come from her from a corporate perspective. So I love it. I love it, Talisa. Larissa, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. And Talisa, before, I want to just highlight something that you just said, which isn't necessarily directly related to real estate, but so important to mention. And that is, we just talked, as we introduced the session about how we're focused on economic empowerment and economic development, right?
Yeah.
You talked about how you spoke to your mother about the land that she owned. That is so key. And that is so critical. Having those conversations within our families, with our children, about what you need to do to build wealth. I think that for us, I would say a lot of us, maybe not everybody, but too often, sort of culturally, we're not used to doing that. But it's so important because children, right? They hear us and they see us and they learn from our example, and really being intentional, having conversations about, this is what I'm going to do. This is part of my plan. And that's how a lot of us learn. So I love that. I love that. That's huge critical piece. So you started to tell us, and I'd like to hear more about it, that the first property you have started with is a multi-unit. It's a 2-family. And we have, for all our participants, we have pictures that we're going to show you. We have more information. But what I want to just start with is tell us, what was it that drove you to choosing a 2-family property to invest in?
So I looked at it, it was an opportunity for passive income. So because you can occupy 1 or 2 of the units, however you see fit, you could do, 2 to 3, and you can rent out one, right? So 1, it can help you with the mortgage. 2, either half of the mortgage or the majority of your mortgage. When you decide to actually move out the property, let's say you're actually living in it, you would be able to at least have it pay for your full mortgage, or the opportunity to make that passive positive cash flow. And when I say cash flow, I just wanted to hone in on that. That means after your mortgage is paid for, after property taxes, after vacancy, expenses are put to the side, you actually have a positive additional income coming in after all of those expenses are paid for.
I love that. And, I think for a lot of people, of course, we're talking about investment. And some people, when they think investment, they think about buying a multifamily or a commercial unit and renting all the units out. But sometimes that's not going to be the first step, because that might not be feasible for everybody.
Right.
So one kind of entry level first step to investing may be that multi-unit where you occupy 1 unit and you rent another unit, or you rent 2 units, right?
Correct. So I decided to go down the FHA route. So FHA means it needs to be owner occupied. So since I'm, it's a multi-unit, I'm occupying unit 1, and then I have the opportunity to rent out unit 2.
Right.
And
So
we
for
have
the first,
some we got a question around that, because we want to go a little bit deeper on that financing and that renovation component.
Mhm.
So I have a question here. So you were living in Brooklyn and working in Queens.
Yeah. I
But
know
yet
it's a lot.
you purchased in Jersey. I'm in Jersey, so I tell everybody, ask Larissa. I tell her all the time, just come on over, join us out here. It is a lot of opportunity in New Jersey. So you purchased in Jersey and chose to do a rehab. So one of the things that we covered during the real estate investment series is really exploring areas outside of where you live to be able to invest. So how did you choose Plainfield, New Jersey? And what was the process for researching the areas and narrowing it down to one?
All right. So look, it started with number one. Yes, I live in Brooklyn, and it's unfortunate for me. I just can't afford, Brooklyn prices, right? It just didn't work for me at this time. Maybe in the next couple of years, yes, I would love to buy in my area, but that's just not the case right now. So I just have to be realistic with what works for me. But I wanted to start the process of getting a property because, again, real estate is very forgiving, right? You're just only going to build equity. And if it's a little stagnant at the time, rents do go up, right? So you're winning on either hand. So I just started to do my due diligence. One, started with Zillow. I was like, okay, these Jersey prices work. I would use tools such as like rental calculators, putting in the taxes, putting in the price of the house and the down payment. And just to go back to FHA, the minimum down payment you could put is 3.5%. So when I started to run the numbers, I said, okay, this is going to be feasible for me. Then I started to explore and kind of do my research with different realtors. I happened to come across a realtor that just started doing tours in Jersey. So I got to go to the different areas in Jersey to see what works for me. I stumbled across Plainfield, and I said, oh, this is actually nice. There's a train station here. And what I purposely was looking for is a transient area, right? And when I say transient, that means there's a lot of commuters and a lot of rentals. Some folks may classify it as a C-class neighborhood where a lot of people rent. And that just worked for me because I knew what I was trying to do. And I took into fact, I want the vacancy to be very minimal, right? That means I can get a renter turning in right back just in case someone moved out. So I targeted that area, that specific area on purpose for that.
So Lisa, I love that. And in last year's series, in one of the sessions, we had investors who talked about just that. So they talked about when they looked for an area to invest in, there were specific things that they looked for. I think it was universities and public transit, because that's an area, to your point, where that people are going to need to be near transit, and it's going to be a more popular area, which in turn makes it much easier to rent your units.
Correct.
So that's huge. Understanding the market, understanding what's there, and understanding sort of what's going to make your rental units more marketable. Love that. And I have a question. This was not on our list, but I just thought of it as you were talking. So you talked about renting in Brooklyn, now buying this 2-family here in Plainfield. Knowing Brooklyn rents, I'm guessing that this mortgage is probably, in other words, taking what you were paying in rent in Brooklyn probably covers a good portion of that mortgage in New Jersey. And then on top of that, you have the rental from the second unit. So
Go ahead, Larissa. So let's just say, the mortgage payment is probably like a 1-bedroom in Brooklyn, to be quite honest.
Right. So there it is again. If you can't necessarily go straight into buying a 4-family and renting out all 4 units, this may be a first step for those who just want to get a foot in the door in investing. I love that.
Right. And again, with the FHA loan, you can occupy 1 unit and you only need to be there for a year, right? So then you would be able to move out, go somewhere else if you choose to, but then you'll be able to also rent out that second unit. So you have that flexibility, right? It just depends, what you're looking for and your goals.
And some of the things I picked up too from your answer to Lisa is, guys, Zillow is your friends. Like Zillow, Realtor.com, all of those websites are definitely your friend and definitely a great tool when you're just doing your own research, right? I'm a huge advocate of working with a realtor and a professional. However, when I'm home on my own time, I'm like this. I'm all on Zillow. Like I need to see what's out there. What is the market doing? So I love that you were utilizing the online tools. I love the component of going on those real estate tours. I just want to say something. That is not a normal thing, people. So just so you're aware, there are not realtors out there across this country just out there doing real estate tours. The person that Talisa was able to connect with is somewhat of a unicorn out there in this space, from actually pulling people together and then taking them on tours to actually see the market. So you started off with utilizing the online tools, and then you transition that to now doing the tours and physically being able to drive through a market. So that is something that's very, very key when you're thinking about investing in real estate. You want to go and see the market. You want to go see the street. You want to go see what's down the block. Is there a gas station? Is there a supermarket that's near? All of those things make a huge difference when you're trying to resell or you're trying to rent out that property. So doing that due diligence and actually physically driving through the market is something that I definitely highly encourage. And Talisa had the best of both worlds. She had a realtor. She was sitting on the bus chilling. Love it.
We had to drive ourselves. We would get the property addresses and we would just meet him at each property, because obviously the goal is that you would purchase one of them, right? But you get to see different types of properties, whether it was something that fully needed to be rehab, gutted, etc., or something that was turnkey ready, where you had to do nothing. So it really boils down again to your goals, your time and what you're looking for. But throughout the process, I started meeting new people, right? I started asking more questions. And with this specific house in Plainfield, I actually met a new realtor, right, who now specializes in Plainfield. So that's another thing I learned, because before I was just like, oh, let me go with any New Jersey realtor. No, not necessarily. You probably want to start honing down in the market and someone who specializes in the market. Number two, who has a pipeline of deals coming through, right? So when I got introduced to this new realtor, she had a pipeline of multifamilies, and one of them just happened to be off market and work within my budget. So with the off market deals, I got it at a great price. And that means it's not advertised. It's just literally, she has a client, they want to sell. She doesn't have to do anything because she already has a buyer lined up.
And Talisa, it's just music to my ears, what you're saying, because these were a lot of the things that we spoke about and we taught last year, and we had our experts to also address. It is really key, and I want to zone in on that. It is really key to have a professional from the market that understands the market. You can get a realtor, realtors, they want to make money. So they're all commissioned. So you can call them and they be like, yeah, I'll do that market. And they really don't. So you really want to have someone that understands the market. And then the second thing that you mentioned was working with people that are listing agents, which is awesome, because listing agents actually have potentially off-market properties and can help you get into something that, because we were talking, guys, before we joined the call, and Larissa had a friend that put in an offer and it was 53 offers, 53 people trying to buy the same unit. And look at what Talisa did. She knocked out 53 by going to somebody directly and buying the property directly from them. So that is really, really key when having the capacity to be able, and the relationships to be able to work with someone that has listings that potentially are not on the market, and you don't have to worry about getting outbid by somebody or those 52 people like Larissa's friend that they were all competing with. So huge win for you with that.
So Lisa, you touched a little bit on the financing, and we want to go into a little bit more detail about that. You talked about the fact that you got, well, first I'll just sort of say, you got renovation financing. So you got a 203K loan, which is one product under the category of renovation financing. So I think a lot of people, when they hear, they assume that 203K is the only type. There are different types. There are different types of renovation loan products out there. It depends on what you're buying, where you're buying, what type of property, whether you're going to occupy or not occupy. So the 203K is one example of one type of renovation financing. So tell us a little bit more about that. Tell us about why you chose it and sort of how that process worked for you.
Right. So this property was old. It looks like they maintained it very minimally. So I knew I'm going to have to do some work, but with work costs, right? So one of the products I decided to use was the construction loan, which allows you to roll in your construction loan, construction costs into your loan. And with that being said, how it works, I had to find a contractor who specializes or is familiar with this process, because if you go down this route, there's an expectation that the contractor does have to upfront the costs, and then they'll be reimbursed by the bank. And what I was able to do is have a scope of work, pretty much painting the entire house, gutting the bathrooms, renovating the kitchen, sanding the floors, upgrading electrical, all rolled into my mortgage with that construction loan. So I did not have to come out of pocket. I only came out of pocket with my down payment of 3.5%. And that is not taxed. That 3.5% is just on the purchase of the home. It's not on the purchase of the home plus the construction. So if you can only imagine, if you get a good deal, it's a very minimal cost out of pocket.
So that 3.5% that you put down was 3.5% of the price before the renovation cost.
Before the renovation, that is correct.
Right. And that makes a difference, because that's less cash out of your own pocket.
Yeah, less cash out of, exactly. So I did not have to come out of pocket for construction costs. If there's anything else I wanted to do outside of the scope of work, yes. But the goal is just have them do whatever you want, really go through it line by line in terms of what you want done in the house, because there's that opportunity where you can get it rolled in your mortgage.
Great. And that's great. And we're going to go through a little bit later on. We're going to go through an example of your scope of work. We're going to take a little piece of it, so we'll be able to show our participants exactly what that looks like.
Yeah.
Vonetta?
Yeah, I love it. And you started to talk a little bit about the contractors. So talk to us about your experience in, selecting that contractor to be able to do the work.
So starting with, I figured I'll go down the 203 construction loan route. So it was a lot of calling. Do you guys do 203K loans? Some contractors do not like it. Some contractors are familiar with it and are okay with it, but just there's that component that they need to upfront the costs. And there's it's more regulated with the bank, because the bank has to reimburse them. And there's an inspector that has to accompany them throughout this process. So you may get a little bit of pushback from contractors, and that's what was happening. So again, tapping into the experts in Plainfield, such as the realtor, hey, do you know who specializes in 203K loans? Just so happened there was a contractor who did, and I also found one on my own. So I got 2 bids, and I just went with the one which made the most sense. And they were able to start the process in a matter of 2 weeks. I got lucky. I heard it could actually take a little bit longer. So once everything was approved by the bank, submitted the scope of work, I went with that contractor and they started demo within a matter of 2 to 3 weeks.
And you know, some of the things that I just pulled out of that, Talisa, and I want really the audience to understand is, as you said, not all contractors, two things, not all contractors want to go through the motions of doing a 203K with the bank, because there is a process. Sometimes banks require the contractor to show that their financials, their tax returns. Like sometimes it is a major process, and those contractors have to show that they literally have the money to be able to do the job. And I'm going to just say this: the benefit. Think about this, guys. Why does that benefit you, right? Like, who, you know, why would you care if they have the money or not? You would care a great deal if they have the money or not, because that means if they don't have the funds to be able to complete your project, they can start and then they can disappear. And trust me, the shenanigans that happen in the market, there are a lot of disappearing contractors. I'm sorry, one is my contractor driving past me right now in his loud truck. But anyway,
he's coming back. Your contractor. So, and another thing on that is that, Talisa, you mentioned that there are specific requirements. The bank has specific requirements. So you also want a contractor that's familiar with those requirements. In other words, there may be specific ways. You mentioned that there's the HUD consultant or there's an inspector. So there may be specific ways that things need to be done. The 203K, for example, we know that it's a government insured loan. So they may have specific ways they want things done. And you really want a contractor who's familiar with that and understands that.
Right. And listen, that inspector, the goal of that HUD consultant, as they call them, is to be on your side, right? Essentially the client. So I'll just give you an example. So also in addition to how the 203K construction loan works, the contractors do request draws. So after a certain amount of work is completed, they can request for funds to be dispersed, right? So the HUD consultant,
I'm sorry, I'm gonna pause you there for a second, because we have a whole other question about that.
Okay.
So we're hear more about that. We're just gonna pause you. Before we get to the draws, though, we want to talk a little bit about the work. So as you mentioned, there's a budget that was established for the work, and then you decided exactly what you wanted to be done, what exactly you wanted to have done. And since there is a budget, of course, you want to be intentional about how you're spending that budget, right? So can you just kind of walk us through how you decided what needed to be done and what the process is?
Yeah, so I started, as I started this whole journey, you know, you start to talk to people, you get advice on the best way to go about rehabbing your place, and you start from what seemed to work, and what made the most sense to me was starting in working out, right? So I started with all the stuff that one came from the inspection report, because when you're buying a house, you have to have an inspector kind of go through, you know, the house and point out things that need to be addressed or can be hazardous or not so important at the time. So you pick and choose. And then also what's going to add value. So I started with the electrical, because there was an outdated electrical panel. I started with the kitchen, because that adds the most value to a house. I started with the bathroom. I started with, I had to make sure everything was all good with the roof and the chimney. So there had some minimal work needed to be done in that space, which I was very happy about, because that could be very costly. So I worked on those top items. Then I started going into the more of the cosmetic piece, which was, you know, laying out of the kitchen, you know, renovating the kitchen, the bathroom, the floors, and paint, right? Fresh coat of paint, plaster, new plaster, sanding everything down, just to make sure that, you know, the place looks a little bit modern.
Great. And what I just put up on the screen is the scope of work that you shared with us. So can you just talk a little bit about the scope of work itself and, you know, what we see on here and how that figures into the process?
Okay, so In this case, what you're seeing, I got very fortunate. So I'm not sure if other contractors do it like this, but the total cost also included material, and it also included fixtures. So if we're starting from the top, like general demolition, he is pricing out each piece of work that needs to be done in that bathroom and what it's going to cost me. So general demolition, these are not bargaining items. They had to be done. Obviously, if I'm getting the bathroom rehab, I need demo. Bathroom plumbing. Again, a lot of things that cannot be negotiated because I had to get these things removed. Now, if you scroll down a little bit more, this is where the contractor included material costs. So it says, for example, provide and install one toilet, premium grade. The good thing about this is I had a budget up to $515.59 to buy a toilet of that cost, but I only went with something that costs $189. So he's just knowing based on experience that depending on what you want, style, aesthetics, the function, how the toilet functions, you can get a toilet up to $515. If we go to the next line item, provide one sink. This is fixture costs only, no labor. So he started with labor on the top and then it went to fixtures below. I had a budget of $100, right? I can get a sink faucet, a bathroom faucet that costs about 80, right? Moving on to the next one is the shower control set, $267. Again, I could buy something that's $180. So he went down each piece of what needed to be done. So we have electrical, again, non-bargaining, needed to get a new GFIC outlet. Those outlets are important where you have any water that's near there. Wall coverings, ceiling coverings, and replacing of the doors. So everything is itemized out to the T.
And this whole document is 9 pages long. So this is just one page where we
Yeah, this is just one page.
Very, very right. It's very, very detailed and has, as you said, very specific line items right down to the penny. That's $661.25, which helps you kind of budget for the expected costs.
Yep.
I just want to say something that's really important around what Talisa just said, everybody, so you guys get the full scope of the importance of it. So she talked about the fact of creating the budget, the scope of work budget, and including materials. People, that is critical. And I'm going to tell you why. So let's say you're saying, Talisa did a bathroom. So she said, I want to do the bathroom, and she did the kitchens as well. And she has 2 units, it's a multifamily. So she said, I want to do the bathroom, and I'm going to have, they're going to include the materials. Remember when we talked about the fact that the person needs to have the money? They have to physically buy a toilet. So, these are things that they have to do. So if the contractor is including materials in the scope of work, that means they have to physically purchase those materials. Therefore, they need funds in which to do it. And that they're not going to get those funds back from the bank until after the project, after the stuff is done. So that is why it is critical to work with someone that if they can, they have the money in which to do the jobs. That's one component of it. Another component of the fact of having those, being clear on what is included in your scope of work. So sometimes when contractors, and when you're putting together the scope of work and you're saying that, okay, they're going to upgrade my kitchen and upgrade my bathroom, and materials are included. If you're not specific around what exact materials are included, you could wind up paying money out of pocket that you had no idea you were going to pay. So let's say they're doing that bathroom that she was describing, and it didn't include materials, or they said materials, right? But they wanted you to buy the pipes, or they wanted you to buy, the handles or something. Or the sheetrock, whatever the case may be, you need to really understand and document when people say materials, that you have a full understanding of what materials are. I just did a walkthrough in the property that I'm doing my fix and flip on, and there was conversations around materials. Who buying sheetrock? Who buying hardy boards? Who buying screws? All of these things needed to be physically documented and agreed upon, because at the end of the day, like Talisa said, what money is coming out of her pocket? Like, that's important. Like, what physical money is coming out of her pocket in which she's gonna have to invest? So when you're working out those scopes of work, you want to make sure you're clear. That's my contractor. Excuse the noise. You want to make sure you're clear on what actually is being paid for and what actually is getting done.
Yeah. So for me, listen, I'm sticking to a tight budget. So whatever I don't use for the fixtures, right? Again, all those other stuff are non-bargaining, like drywall and all that other stuff. I'm going to get reimbursed at the end. So there's pros and cons with this.
Larissa, can you ask the next question? I got too much background noise. Thank you.
Gotcha. So, Talisa, you also, we talked about the things that you decided that needed to be done, but there's also the aesthetics. So can you talk to us about how you chose sort of the aesthetic aspect of it, and also how that translated into time savings, and how that translates into value, resale value, or the potential rental of each unit?
Right. So again, bathroom and kitchen, they add the most value in the house, of course, with the other components such as electrical, plumbing. I went with the trend of the market. Listen, the area I'm in doesn't call for gold, chrome, fixtures, and you can have those stuff, but it's not, necessarily going to be a deal breaker for you to get a renter or not. So if you look here, so the bathroom before, starting with the top row, it was very outdated, antiquated chip paint, molds, leaky faucets. Once we took down the walls, as you can see, there was like mold on the wall. So this was not a part of the scope of work, because the goal was just to put back up existing sheetrock, not actually take down sheetrock. And I had to remove that whole wall that contained mold. So that was a change order. And a change order has to do with anything that's out of the scope of budgeted work. So I had to proceed with that. So they removed everything. And then now I just went with something very simple, simplistic. As you can see after, I went with a wall and floor tile, the same color, just to make my life easier, and chrome fixtures.
And so I'm just going to interrupt you there. I'm sorry, but I want to interject on that. That's really important what you just said, just to make your life easier. So going with the same type of tile, same finishes, same material, that when you say make your life easier, what do you mean by that?
Because you're going to start, trying to pick and choose. You have to see what tiles are appropriate for the wall, what tiles are appropriate for the floor. And what I started finding out is that you can get a tile that could be fit for the floor and the wall, right? And when I say the wall, it's very important because water is here. So some tiles are just not made for that whole water component in the shower space.
And that can also make the process more efficient. We had one investor on a previous, on last year's series, who told us that they had a relationship with the contractor, and that contractor knew what finishes they use, what materials they use. So it didn't even have to be a conversation. It was time saved. They didn't have to go through selecting. So they had a set of, for example, the tile or the cabinet, the vanity, whatever it was. And the contractor already knew this is what they were going to use for each project.
Great. So to that point, like moving forward, Larissa, if I decide to do this again, I would definitely go with this tile. It's easy, it's affordable. This is not something that's
it's going to be in all your houses, Talisa. It's going to be all your houses.
I'm going to have this gray scheme.
Your signature look. They're going to be like, who did that house? Talisa did that house. I
And
love
then
it.
I also installed the vent because again, moisture in the bathroom. So just those new additions make a difference because that's where mold could come into play. And again, that's something your contractor should tell you. So, they should also be educating you throughout the process.
And I just want to say, and I know we have the pictures up, and Talisa was, again, guys, I know we had some people that joined after our initial introduction. So Talisa is one of our graduates of the series from last year, the cohort number 1. And we've been talking ever since she finished last year, and we had a lengthy conversation, her and I, one day on this situation right here in this picture. Talisa and I were talking, and she was like, Vonetta, my contractor, they gave me what in my original scope of work. I didn't, it talked about redoing the kitchen. She said, however, my stove and my sink are just not in the right location. And she was like, I want to have my sink in front of the window, and I want to move my stove to another wall. She's like, and my contractor is going to charge me, all this money to do it. And I'm like, Talisa, it's a rental. Forget about it. Nobody cares. I said, this is what I'm saying to her. I'm like, Talisa, when you're thinking about spending extra money for an investment property, I said, will that extra money you spend give you extra money from a rental or resale perspective? I said, because if you're trying to rent out a house, nobody's going to walk in and be like, the sink should have been there and the stove should have been there. And I'm going to pay more money if the sink is over there and more money if the stove is over there. I was like, Talisa, nobody's paying more money because of a sink. Let me tell y'all, I didn't see this picture when I was making all of these statements, okay? If she would have just texted me the picture, I would have said, change it. So, the before and after picture is phenomenal. And she could have ended a long conversation with me if she would have sent me that first picture. That first picture, and I would have said, yeah, get that stove out of this. Ridiculous. But I still stick to whatever work you're doing. How is that work impacting your resale value, or how is that work impacting your rental value? Are people going to pay more in rent? Are they going to pay more in the resale based off of the work that you're doing? And if they are, from a rent perspective, what is that more? And I think when it came to her making this decision, she made an amazing decision. She made the right one. Let's just say that. Put a 1 in the chat. Put a 1 in the chat if you agree with Talisa's decision. But Talisa and I had a long conversation.
Yeah, I went back and forth, guys, because again, this was not a part of the original scope of work. This is a cosmetic change. And with that cosmetic change came with the moving of the drains and the moving of the gas line. And all of that costs. So that was another change order. I mean, I was very, fortunate where I had a little bit of some space in my budget to play with. So in terms of, return on investment, it would still be okay. But it was a cost. It was a cost. And I just cosmetically could not get with the original layout. So I'm like, contractor, let's move this, let's make it happen. And it actually came out pretty good. So I'm pleased with the new layout. It looks normal.
And guys, I'm going to tell you why, just a side note, the reason why I was against it in our conversation is because she was moving plumbing and she was moving gas. Those are 2 huge things to move. It wasn't that she was just putting a cabinet here or a refrigerator there. She was literally moving the plumbing to a new location, which is a process. And it involved licensed contractors to do that. And then she's literally moving the gas from one side of the kitchen to the other side of the kitchen. I mean, it's not a huge kitchen, but any movement of an original line is a major process, I would say. So that's why, I was a little hesitant. I was straight up no. I was straight up telling her no.
She was like, no. And I'm like, but
But also, Talisa, I mean, I was joking earlier before we got on about it being, a safety issue, but you mentioned that it actually turned out that it was the location of the stove.
So actually, I guess Plainfield code or codes for kitchens moving forward, I know in Jersey, you have to have 6 inches on each side. So this was a violation of itself, actually, with the original layout.
Right.
Yeah, it's up against the wall. Like, that's ridiculous.
Right. So those are things that you might not plan to do, but you may, as you go through the process, you realize this is something you're going to have to do.
Right.
It's important to kind of have room for that. You mentioned that you had a little bit of extra room in the budget, so it's good that you had the room to do that. So you touched on this a little bit earlier, and I'm gonna take the picture down so that we can see one another. You touched on this a little bit earlier about the process of getting draws. So can you talk to us a little bit more about that? Like, what is a draw? What's the process? What's required? Is there a cost to get the contractor paid?
Yeah, so with the 203, there's always fees associated with everything. So the construction loan allows you up to 5 draws. Each draw has a price. This draw fee was very minimal. I thought it would have been more. It was like $300, but those are fees you cannot bargain. If you're going to go down that route.
Just to clarify for everybody, when you say draw, that means pulling the money.
Pulling money out.
Right.
So what I mentioned is the contractor needs to have funds up front. So the contractor, let's say, starts with demo, right? He did 80% of demo. Now he needs to be reimbursed 80% of that. He would reach out to the inspector and said, hey, I did 80% of my demo. I removed all this debris and existing fixtures. I need to be compensated now. So the inspector would come out and actually verify what he's requesting that he did is accurate. And there are going to be cases where the inspector like, I don't think this is 80%. I think this is 70%. So I'll give you 70%. One thing you want to also be mindful of is kind of setting the expectations up with the contractor. Because like I said, all these draws cost money, right? And you want them to be as efficient as possible. And I said, listen, if we can limit this to like 3 draws for the total project, that would be ideal. And he actually did work with me, and all we had was 3 draws for the total project. So the inspector would come out, verify what he's saying is accurate, that he completed. So first draw, demo. The second draw was had to do with the roughing. And the roughing means like just getting all the new plumbing in, right? Or getting all the gas lines and everything completed. So he requested for that. Inspector came out. He said, I want 60%. Contractor, the inspector just allotted him 55%. So the purpose of that inspector, they're supposed to be on your side. They would verify to make sure the work is accurate and that, no one is not trying to get over on anyone here, right? Because the bank is involved. So it's very highly regulated process.
And that's where that, again, that having a contractor who's familiar with a loan like this makes a big difference, because that way that contractor knows how to plan. Well, all right, we want to get this done in 3 draws. What work do I need to do at what time, right? Planning out the work to make sure that they do it and can, you could do 1 draw for all these different parts of the work that have been done.
Correct. So it's just setting those expectations up front.
And I'll just even add, when you're working with your contractor, guys, and you're setting those expectations, especially if they are dependent on that reimbursement. So they're footing all the bill up front. Yeah. They're dependent on that reimbursement, as they go through the job. Even being clear with them and documenting that all of these items will be done for draw 1. All of these items are going to be done for draw 2, and the final completed project is your draw 3. So there's no misunderstanding once we go to draw 1, what is expected to be done. So you want to have that clarity up front when you're working with your contractor and you're creating that scope of work document with the contractor, definitely highly encouraged it. Loved how Talisa and her contractor worked it out. You want to do the as minimal draws as possible, again, because draws cost money. Talisa has a mortgage that, if you know, that $500 or whatever amount, $300 draw,
Yeah.
she's paying over 30 years, technically. Okay, let's just be, she ain't paying out of pocket, she's paying it over 30 years. So she can do less draws. You know, that's less money over the lifetime that she's gonna have to be paying out of pocket. But being very, very clear up front with your scope of work that says all of these line items have to be done for draw 1, 2, and 3. So nobody's misunderstanding like, oh, I did your kitchen and I thought I was going to get paid in draw 1, but no, kitchen is draw 2. So, you know, having that intense clarity, and Talisa mentioned something about roughing. A lot of contractors, they'll come in and do the roughing, and then they ask for that draw 1. But roughing definitions vary from contractor to contractor. Some people consider roughing just putting in your pipes. Some people consider it connecting all your pipes and having everything actually functioning is what they call roughing. Some people say it needs to be connected, functioning, and your sheetrock has to be up to some capacity. So being clear, guys, y'all know, you guys are walking in. This is Talisa's first one. So exciting.
Yeah.
But you're walking into an unknown space. So what I want you to make sure you're doing is you're asking questions, because people are going to throw things at you. It's going to be gray area all over the place. But I want you to make sure that you equip yourself with knowledge and you ask questions. And that kind of takes me into our last question that we're going to have with Talisa is, Talisa, we're super excited to have you here because you went through that first, the REIS series number 1, and you went through all of the different sessions. And a lot of the things that you said to us today really spoke to a lot of the things that you learned. Yeah. So can you maybe just talk to us about the value that you got out of being a participant in that initial series, and how did you take that value and attribute it to what you've done with this first property?
Sure. So listen, I gained a lot of knowledge. What was happening prior to the series, I was going through this whole, what they call it, analysis paralysis kind of phase. I'm like, I'm ready, but I'm not doing anything about it. So this series just happened to come out. I don't know how, I just saw the advertisement for it. I was like, oh, this is great. So I planned it out where I'm going to go through my house journey while going through this process. So I would literally jump on a series at 10 a.m. in the morning, and then I'm going out to Jersey looking at properties. And yeah, so every Saturday was pretty booked, and I must have been going out for about 3 months. So once it started with the market, right? Where to buy. I believe that was your first presenter, where to buy. So when I started meeting with the realtors, I'm like, yeah, give me those comps, right? Because when you don't know, to Vonetta's point, you don't know what to ask. You don't know what you're getting yourself into. And they can just tell you, yeah, this market is good. But no, they also need to back it up by evidence, right? So I would have that realtor who I found, the second realtor time around, she sent me the comps for the area, right? And also the rent rolls for the area. And she just sent me a couple of things on MLS that were rented and a couple of things that were sold in that area. And how, okay, you are getting a good deal. And this is what your potential rental income could possibly look like, also based on the square footage, right? So all of those things come into factor. But again, I didn't know to ask that. You just don't know, right? The next one, I think I already touched on that, the rent roll. One of your other presenters actually mentioned, looking at the rent roll, seeing what makes sense, because at the end of the day, you do want to make some sort of profit from it, at least covering the mortgage. But for me, the cash flow is important per unit. So when I started looking at the rents and I started looking at the comps, and I knew if I stayed under budget and using these rental calculator tools really helped me plugging in the numbers to see exactly what my cash flow is going to look like at the end of this project once both units are rented. The next one is just doing your due diligence, right? And making sure, you know, you're working with your inspectors, you're getting all, you know, that offer is critical. I think at that point, when I made the offer, it was an off-market deal, so I took the offer. But as we were going through the process, once you're doing your due diligence with your inspectors, there's an opportunity for you to negotiate, right? Where you can either get money knocked off or they can issue you credits at the end. This was a buy as is, so they weren't going to fix anything. But I did, after the inspection, I had some negotiation power for them to offer me back credit. So it worked out for things that they just couldn't fix up front. So they just credit you back costs, whatever, you know, is negotiated. And the next piece for me that was touched upon in the series is now really turning this into a business. Again, so I got FHA, it needs to be owner occupied. But after a year, depending on my goals, it's now, how do you start turning this to a business and having different business structures such as the LLC. So my goal after a year, and depending on where I move, I will be putting this into LLC and getting my next property.
I love it, love it, love it, love it. Talisa, you touched on so many key points. And really, it's like, this is why Larissa and I are here. This is why, New York Black is supporting this initiative and really driving and building that legacy wealth. One of the things you mentioned was about the fact that, understanding your cash flows. And, when I initially kicked off, this call, I talked about changing the trajectory of your life, people. This is not just about, I'm going to buy a property and see how it goes. This is literally about changing the trajectory of your life and becoming a full-time investor. And, buy corporate America, love you smooches, be your own corporate America. Be that. let that be the goal. I told Talisa, November 2024, I'm out. Like this, all I will be doing is investing in real estate as a developer. So, Talisa, it seems like you got a lot out of the series. Everyone on this call, I definitely would love you guys to be a part of this series. It's going to provide so much information. Talisa used all of it. She had a notebook. She was out there. She took the class and went right and put it to action. Right, and put it to action. So I definitely say I'm happy. I feel like you're our success story, and you're a real life of what really can happen if you stop having that analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
So if anybody has analysis paralysis on this phone, get off of it. Let it go. Join March 19th and let it go. And let's get everyone on the road to building that legacy wealth.
First of all, Talisa, you are phenomenal. Thank you. Your story is amazing, and the way that you came on here and told it with us is amazing. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
You said something that is so important that Vonetta just mentioned it, the analysis paralysis. When we started this process last year, it was in the description that we went over at the very beginning. We wanted this to be actionable information. So we didn't want it to just be, hey, just here's some information about investing. We wanted it to be information that you can take and you can go and apply. So I love that you did that. And for this year's series, we're going to continue that. We want to make sure that it's not just stuff you can think about, but it's stuff that you can actually use. And I also love what you said about the numbers. Like, look, the numbers don't lie. Like that's what this is about. You got to make the numbers make sense. So that's key to this process. So thank you.
Thank you.
I think we put it in the chat, but we are now going to go to Q&A. So we're going to take questions from our audience. If you have questions, you can, you can raise your hand or you can put your questions in the chat. Please ask your questions.
All right, we do
And
have some
yep,
already in. Oh, did
we got a
somebody start
couple in the
speaking?
chat.
Yeah, I see a couple of questions.
So I
All right.
think the first one, I see one here, but I think I had seen one going further back. I don't see it right here, but I know someone asked about, I think, negotiating credits.
Yes.
Mentioned negotiating credits back. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so the inspection report, that is going to be your best friend. You want to make sure you have a great inspector. This gentleman that we found, that I found, oh my God, he took like 2 hours. He went through that house. I mean, nothing couldn't get past him. And one of the things that was in the house was asbestos wrapping, because in the old houses, they use that for the heating, right? And with that, as you know, yes, it's very hazardous, but they say if it's not cracked or if it's not, brittle, you don't have to touch it. As long as you're not touching it, you don't really have to remove it. But anyway, that was a concern of mine. And I wanted to get that fixed and removed. So I just presented that to the seller and I'm like, hey, it's going to cost X amount to probably get this looked at. What can you do for me? Right? But that's where your attorney negotiates with them. This is not just having a conversation. So we were able to negotiate on some money back in order for me to remediate that issue. I mean, you could use it for whatever, but it's really, that's what I needed to get fixed. So we kind of just went back and forth of what that would look like. And we came up with a number and they just issued credit back. Again, it was a buy as is. The owner was not going to fix anything. So that's where I use that inspection report to my benefit.
And just a follow up on that. So tell us about like when that happened. So you kind of made your offer and then you got your inspection.
Yeah, I made my offer and then I started going through all the inspection process. So the inspector, the sewer scope, the oil tank sweep. And so inspection report comes back, attorney reviews it with you. Hey, what are the things that, you want to see what, the owner could assist you with? And I'm like, X, Y, and Z. We go back to their attorney and we kind of negotiate a number based on the items.
And at that point, if you wanted to, did you have the option to walk away? Let's say
yes, you do have the option to walk away. Actually, the first property I made an offer on, it was a 3-family. But after going through the inspection process and just seeing the condition of the house, again, I didn't want to take on too much I couldn't handle. And I had to be realistic about my funds and what was going to work for me, because you don't want to jump into this process and then end up in a hole. And things do happen, but I just had to weigh out those options. And given what the inspection report came back, it just wasn't going to work for me. So I walked away.
Yep. And I know we have other questions, just real quick. I know, Vonetta, you went through that too. So it's so important to get that inspection, because the deal might not work and that's okay too, but you got to get that inspection as soon as possible to figure out whether you're going to negotiate or whether you might need to walk away.
And guys, also and that's what any deal, with any deal. And I will tell you guys, regardless if they have the property is listed as is, always, if you want something, ask. As the saying goes, closed mouths don't get fed. So if you don't ask for something, you don't get something. You will never get it. So one of my fabulous realtors on this session right now, she's in the chat, Clara, and she will tell you, I asked for money on the bank-owned property, and I got surprise. I'm gonna ask for everything, but it's it's 2 components of a credit. So in the beginning, but then one other thing, Talisa and I had some conversations about while she was going through her journey was changing what she wanted to get done. So when you go in and you have your mindset on, I want to get this scope of work and all of these things done, you are able to change your mind. You want to say, you know what, I wanted to update the bathroom, but now I want to add some new lighting here, or I want to do something there. You are able to do different things. Nothing is not necessarily engraved in stone when you're doing your your investment renovations. And whether this is with the FHA financing, the property that I have, I'm doing hard money with my fix and flip. Even with them, I'm like, you know what? I want some recessed lights right there, or I want a different tub, and I, you know, I need something over here. So I'm changing as I'm going, because sometimes once the walls get ripped out, everything looks different. Like you could think you know what you want, but once things get removed, and Talisa's smiling because she probably know, like once the walls get removed and sheetrock comes down, the house just looks different. And your mind is like, I can get this and I can get this. So you can definitely make some changes. Someone asked in the chat around LLC processes, and I will tell you that's one of our sessions in our class, is whether you're putting the property in a business name or you're putting the property in a personal name. What are some of the components of what that looks like? Talisa's scenario was it's in her personal name, but eventually she's going to move it over to an LLC. So throughout our series, that's one of our segments that we have, talks really about what does that look like to be able to move things from one name to another, and then the benefits of having things in an LLC as opposed to having in them the personal. I'll just add one other piece with Talisa is she started off with an investment property, with a multi-unit, which is something that's really key. So when you're thinking about getting into investing into real estate, maybe your first property isn't a fix and flip. Maybe it isn't a single family. Maybe it's that multi-family 2 to 4 unit that you can get the practice of being a landlord and understanding what that's like, and also renovating in the process, and then walking and continuing on your journey into, buying another multifamily, or maybe going into a fix and flip, or whatever the case may be. But getting that initial, I love for Talisa is that she's getting that initial, what is going to be like to be a landlord? What is it like to renovate a property? Her first thing is 2 properties. Remember, it's a 2 family. Like, she got 2 kitchens, she got 2 bathrooms. She's doing it all double. So it's a huge process, and you definitely want to be able to learn and figure out ways in which to walk through it. Let me just see any other questions. And
while you're looking for that, I just want to touch on something you just mentioned. I don't think we asked you this, Talisa. And again, so you got the 203K, which is one version of renovation financing. And the 203K is because you're going to occupy 1 unit, and you'll rent the second one. But because it is a 2 unit, there's a question here about how long the process took, because it was FHA. And the second question is, did you have to take a class? And so I'm curious also, did you take a landlord class?
No landlord class. So FHA just has to do with, I guess, the type of product, the amount you could put down, and other qualifications around it. Because, you have FHA, and then you have your conventional too, right? So I just went down the FHA route because you can put down the most minimal amount, which is 3.5%, right? I believe 3%. No, 3.5%. 3.5%. Yeah, 3.5%. So no, not with this product. I did not have to take a class.
And everybody, just and Larissa's point with that is, so there are actual, guys, there's actual home buyer education classes. There are actual landlord classes. So and most of it is free, guys, just an FYI situation. So there are a lot of classes out there that you can take. One thing we talk about in the series specifically as it relates to financing from an investment perspective is we talk about hard money, soft money, traditional bank financing. So we give you guys all of the information that you need to have in order to get the funding for your project. One thing one of our guest speaker said in one of our soft money sessions was, he said that there's a financial vehicle for everything. And I stole it, so it's mine now. I say it. There is a financial vehicle for everything. So when people come to me, my thing is, what are you trying to do? and let's see who can help you get there. What company, what product, you know, what is the financial vehicle that's going to get you on your journey? Because you might hear a lot of no's, but all you need, people, remember this, all you need is one yes. One yes to change the trajectory of your life. Talisa did a renovation financing from a 203K perspective. There's conventional renovation financing, and then there's true investment financing. And when we say, you know, a lot of these, we're throwing out terminology to you all, and you might not be familiar with the terminology, and it's okay, because that's what we're here to do, is to teach you throughout the series what this different terminology means. But there's specific type of money and type of financing that you can get to purchase a property. And I think maybe before we finish, because we had a lot of people that joined after the fact, what I want to do is I want to maybe walk through Larissa, I'm just putting this out there. I want to walk through you know, my property right here so they can see it again. So we had a lot of people join kind of after the beginning and just get a real understanding. This was Talisa house too, and during her throughout her motions, but there's a financing vehicle for anything that you want to do, guys. Let's get to changing a trajectory. Let's make some money. Let's get investing in real estate, and let's get on the journey. And you know, Larissa and I are here to be able to make it happen. You know, I just seen like a bunch of, oh, that's Norvell putting some questions in there.
I would just say, do what works for you. Ask questions. That's what I did, because I did not know about anything. I just started doing a lot of research, right? Even some of the terms, like Vonetta said, a lot of the terms were new to me at the time. I would just Google them because I had no clue. Hard money, soft money, what's the difference? So just really taking the time to educate yourself, and of course, being smart about it, you know, whatever decision you make, but just start asking questions. And then I just started meeting a number of people who are in this space. And because listen, they're always going to give you advice, and everyone's here to help. You know, we're all on the same path for building wealth. So just go for it, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions too. Yeah. So
first, thanks to Talisa. Yeah. Vonetta, did you say you're going to walk into the property again?
Yeah, I want to show the property really quick before we finish.
Okay, so that's great. I think that's a great idea. I think this time, maybe if you could walk a little bit slower, because the last time we walked through, it was kind of fast. It was hard to see. So if you walk a little bit slower. And then before you do that, there is one question here in the chat. Stephanie asked, does the series cover information around landlord-tenant laws for those of us that are first-time landlords? So a couple things. Yes, we do have a session on leasing, generally speaking, renting, generally speaking, or leasing out the units, generally speaking. But just keep in mind that if you're talking about landlord-tenant laws and things like that, those are things that are going to be sort of area specific. So we're not necessarily going to get into specific laws, but we will kind of talk about things that you should be aware of. But you also said our first-time landlord. So to the point that Vonetta just made, if you already are and you're looking for information specific to what you need to know as a landlord in your area, there are actual landlord classes that you can take.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. And I'm going to take a moment. So I'll give you guys the setup for the property we're about to walk into. So this is my fix and flip that I purchased in November 30th last year. Had a tenant in there up until January 21st, and have been working through my construction. It was a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath. I'm changing it to a 5-bedroom, 3-bath with 2 master bedroom en suites. And I did one of the things I said, the terminologies was hard money. And that means all I had to do was listen to this. Listen, people, listen. I put down 30% and I needed a 680 credit score. That was it. I didn't have to show no assets, no bank statements, no pay stubs, no tax returns, nothing. I had to have 30% and a 680 credit score. And that was it. And I had to find a house, which was sometimes can be challenging. Miss Clara would tell you, I've been looking for a year for a house to do this. So we're going to walk in and I hear my lawn. also the setup. I have contractors in the house right now. What I am doing with this property is I am going to do what's called I don't know, Miss Clara, put it in the comment. What is it called? A soft opening. So I'm putting the house on the market next week. It is not finished yet, but I'm going to have the outside finished so that people can do a drive-by and look at it and hopefully want to buy it. And then I'm going to actually put it on the market coming soon. Thank you. I'm doing it coming soon. And then it's going to open up for people to come in and see it 3 weeks later. But right now, I want to get the buzz going with the coming soon. People can come and see it and do drive-bys and stuff like that. What I have going on today is I have contractors in the yard. I'm having them do the whole yard over, make the yard look nice and pretty. I have a dumpster because there's a lot of garbage from the renovation, and I have contractors inside working on the kitchens and the bathrooms and the new master bedroom ensuite. So I'm going to take you in. I'm looking because I still hear the lawn thing. I'm going to walk slow because Larissa said I was moving super fast. Wait, I'm going to walk a little slow and you might hear the background noise. So I do apologize. So let me flip the camera. Let's do that. Did it flip? Okay, there we go. Okay, here we go. So this is the house. It's a ranch. You see my lawn guy, he back there, I hear him. Yeah, I hear him. He back there doing it up. So wait, I was walking fast. So over here, so he just got kind of like all the grass and yeah, I asked if he can give me some sod because y'all see this grass, it's a tragedy. I need some sod. But see this area? Go ahead, Larissa.
I'm sorry, Vonetta, before you even get to that, our audience doesn't know, but even that paint color, that's one of the things that you did, right?
Yeah, so I painted the house black. So I'm still in the process of painting it. See, it was this horrible red. So the house, I'm painting it black. So it's going to be black. And I did all new siding on the sides and the back. So that white is brand new siding. And this up here in the top is going to be a nice wood, pine wood. I will show you guys one day. Y'all join the series. Y'all see the end result. But it's going to be black with wood accent. And this right here, I'm going to do a nice wood feature wall because most of these houses in this neighborhood all look the same and they either just paint that white brick, but I'm going to do a nice wood accent feature wall to make it stand out from the neighbors. Right here, my lawn guy is going to get this together, build me a new bed and he got some flowers in the truck. So he's going to put here on the flowers. And then with the walkway, I told him we need to kind of line up some mulch and stuff along this walkway because I want to have it's all about the curb appeal, guys. Like people are going to literally just drive by and they're going to see the property and it's all about that curb appeal. It has to really look good. So I'm going to do the nice mulch going all the way up. He's going to do something on this side, maybe put some mulch or some trees. And then over this side, he's going to relocate one of these bushes and put it over here and build like a nice little mulch bed. So let's go inside. I'm taking off this door because it's a mess. So we're inside. That's my project manager. Okay, so let me slow down. Larissa said I was going too fast. So here we have this. Wait, no, let me come back out. Let me do the walk-in first. So here we have, if you guys, can you imagine? So right here in this space, you see the ground? It used to be a huge double closet. So just imagine that. It was a huge double closet and we took it all out. So when you walk in the house, so I walked in and I was staring at a closet and I couldn't see the beautiful, huge, massive living room with the dining room area. So now when I walk in, that huge closet is gone. They're going to fix all that up. And now we have the wonderful open living room. I'm doing recessed lighting in the living room. See, guys, this is a big living room, right? Like this living room is huge. Over here is going to be the dining room area. So going to have the light come from the top. Then we roll in here into the kitchen. So this is going to be the Eden kitchen area on this side. And then this kitchen was like a galley kitchen, but what I'm going to do here is, there's my other contractor. Hi. Yeah, I want y'all to, did y'all see my contractors? Like, did y'all see them though? Officially see them. All about supporting Black business. I'm just gonna put that out there. But so I'm gonna do refrigerator, cabinet, stove, cabinet. So this whole wall is gonna be cabinets. And then this wall, it's not gonna be a wall, it was a wall, but I'm gonna do the washer, the dishwasher, sink. So this area, so it's gonna be like, a parallel. One set of stuff here and one set of stuff up here. Nothing in the middle, just the open space. And with the kitchen cabinet on this side, I'm gonna do with the bar seating. So it's gonna be up high and you can have bars, it's gonna be bar seating in this area. So that's gonna be really funky. And I'm doing 3 pendant lights. So it'll be right over the bar seating. Doing a brand new garage door. This is gonna be the family room area. So that other room before was the living room. This is gonna be the family room area, right? So, TV, something like that. But this whole area over here is my brand new stuff. So the only thing that used to be here was this room, which was a bonus room. And it was just a small little room, or a decent sized little room. But what I did, and let me just step back because it goes out into the garage. What I did was I had this wall built. So now you coming through the garage, you come to this hallway, and then you walk right into the family room. So I had this wall built because I wanted to make this an official bedroom, right? So now you walk in, I bumped it out and went into the garage about 2 feet out. And now I'm gonna build a closet right here, and then a 5-foot closet, and then a nice sitting area on that side. So this room just got really extra large. And then on this side, I'm going to do a barn door here for the bathroom, and I built the master bathroom ensuite. So I'm going to have a nice 5-foot double vanity, a huge stand-up tub. I have gold fixtures, and I'm going to do the tub. Girl, guys, it's going to be all black on black, all blackout tub, and I think I'm going to do black flooring as well. So that's, yeah. Larissa, were you just clapping? I love it. If you were, yes. So let's go in here. So now that's going to be my master bedroom ensuite number 2. And it's going to be gorgeous. And then over this way, there's 4 other bedrooms. This house is huge. It's so huge. So down the hallway, bedroom number 1, and they're all decent sized bedrooms. Like they're not like tiny bedrooms. Hallway closet. Bedroom number 2. Oh, listen, one thing I did here, I purchased this tub, but one thing I did when I purchased this tub is I got a tub that said deep soaker, right? So it's a little bit deeper than the average tub. And the reason why I did that, so that when I go to resell the property, I can say that it has a deep soaker tub. That adds a little extra when you're trying to sell something. People get excited about that. They can go relaxing in the tub and all that good jazz. And it cost me probably $15 more than the non-deep soaker tub. Let's just say that. This whole bathroom is gutted out. So it's going to be a shower with a tub right here. I'm doing a 48-inch double vanity right here. And it's going to just be like some shelving on that side. So this is a huge, huge bathroom. Another bedroom. Oh, hey guys. Another bedroom. And then this is the second master bedroom that we have here. And I'm gonna hurry up because we have like 4 more minutes. So huge closet. I'm trying to get barn doors for this closet. I'm not sure yet if I can find it. And then this bathroom is the half is the bath. It's a full bath. So it has like a 48-inch shower, a 48-inch shower in it, and then sink and stuff right there. So all gravy. Okay, so there you have it. I hope I didn't run through. Larissa, let me know. I hope it was slow enough. Let me switch back over. Let me get that. These people like, get out the way. We working. But anyway, so guys, change the trajectory of your life. Let me tell y'all something. If God would, if all works out well, this flipping situation right here could potentially yield me a 6-figure profit. You heard what I said, people? 6-figure profit. That could change somebody's trajectory of their life. So it's not just, again, about buying real estate. It is about making and building legacy wealth so that you can change your life and change the life of your children and your family. So thank you all. This was awesome. I hope you guys learned a lot. I hope you definitely sign up for the class that's starting on March 19th. We are really looking forward to delivering some great content again. We bring on amazing speakers every single week to talk about whatever their specialty is, whether it's where to buy, the property, the offer, working with contractors, all of that good information. Talisa, we adore you. Talisa is not just one of our past students. She's also going to be now on our real estate committee. So she is an official committee member of the real estate series. So, yes. And we definitely appreciate you and all that you brought to the table. Thank you for joining. Thank you for sharing everything that you shared today with the audience and for everyone that's there. We appreciate all of you guys for participating in today's session, and definitely hope that you'll be able to sign up and get on that road to building that legacy wealth.
And then real quick before we say goodbye, Vonetta, Stephanie E asked if you could share the contractor's information in the chat. And then Candid Mac asked, is this program once a year? So this is a series. So yes, we do this once a year, the real estate investment piece of it, but it is a series of several sessions, and we're kicking it off on March 19th. So Norvell put the hop-in registration link in the chat, and I know we'll be sending out emails as well. So please register and join us.
And one thing we also do is after each of our sessions, when we have our experts, we share their contact information. So we make sure that we want you guys. We only bring people on that we would refer, or that we highly value. So definitely, and what I'll have Norvell do is send out the contractor information for my contractor, because he's doing a great job. So Lisa want to share her, she can share hers too. They did a great job. From those pictures, they knew what they was doing. Thank you all, and have a fabulous rest of your Sunday.
Thank you all for joining us. Thanks to Lisa. Thanks everybody.
Thank you guys. Thank you for having me.